Hi viewers, welcome to NCKHUB. If you like our videos, kindly do subscribe and follow us. Thank you.
Today's session, we are going to look into identity. Welcome back again. Today, we are going to have a look as part of our Azure Zero to Hero series, identity governance. Identity management in Azure plays a crucial role in terms of securing and managing entire user account access along with certain roles and policies which needs to be followed in terms of Microsoft Cloud environment. So this Azure provides multiple wide varieties of services. Among that one, identity, user management, and entire policy control access are very crucial services. Today, we are going to look into the same service level. Let me click on all resources. So all resources, I will just give you a brief overview. Under this all resources, we have previously created servers and our testing resources or IP addresses. All these IP addresses which we have seen are part of main services. So I am going into now our actual all services. So under the all services, if you can see under identity, like this, we are having different categories. Under identity, we have hybrid management, identity as a service, identity management, along with that one, security and protection. Identity in Azure actually has crucial concepts with level of user accounts, groups, principals, and managed identities. Among this one, Entra ID plays a very crucial role. This is the one Microsoft Entra ID. So in hybrid management also we have Entra Connect. So today we will try to create an user and we will look into the identity management and we will see the user roles attached to this one. Entra ID, formerly it is called as an Azure Active Directory. As part of this Azure Active Directory, we will be managing authentications like single sign-on, MFA, security, integration, and hybrid identity, along with that one, access management. So this Entra ID is formerly known as Azure Active Directory. It is a key component of Entra of Microsoft under the suite of identity and access solutions. So let me log into single sign-on authentication, which of Microsoft Entra ID. So let me click on under the identity management, Entra ID. From this Entra ID, we can create wide varieties of users depending upon your requirement, like development user, tester user, or if you want to attach that to security group, any user access permission to the application. If you want to give, go to the user and create a new user. If you already have a group, you can assign that group to the particular user as well. So this user, we have to allow with certain permissions. Example, if you are trying to create a database user, to allow that user with certain multi-factor authentication or zero trusted security policy or enter permissions management, all these are required with certain management principles. Those principles actually saves us in terms of internal and external threats. So example, if I can see, if I am creating a new user, it will be evaluated to my domain. Next, after that one, this user will be allotted. Example, now I am creating test user. So here this user will be added to this domain. If it is not listed, by default, it is providing on Microsoft.com. Next, after this one, what is the default username you are expecting? That will be displayed to the user. So by default, auto-generated password will be, as of now, it is displaying this auto-generated password. Next, you need to allow that user with all the user details which you want to create. Next, after that one, you can add the identity, organization, job details, what the user is doing. You need to add and provide. So let me create an user. And if you are part of any guest or a guest account or member account of office premises or project premises, you need to select that one. Next, if that user has any certificate, you can do select edit that certificate authorization permissions, or else you can add multiple edit certificate user IDs as well. Likewise, this you can do create. So let me cancel this one and click on OK. So next, if you are taking this with respect to your user login to the system of your organization, then provide the title. Example, he's a developer, provide a developer and company name which he is working on. Example, ABCD. Next, department which unit he is working on. Add the unit. Employee ID. Employee type like contractor, permanent. Like this you can do add. Next, after this one, hire date, office location, all these details you can do mention, and you have to mention all the street address details, email ID, all these required parameters you have to add. Next, you can do click on assignment. If anything goes bad or failed, we will be getting with an error. So if this particular user is part of any development group or a security group, you can add by creating a group and allotting that group the particular level of the user, you can do allot it. And if you want to allow or add certain roles, you can do it. If that user is part of any administrator, add that administrator. If that user wants to access and need to have developer role, add the developer role. So what it contains is create applications, registrations, user can register application setting. All these details will be part of this identity role. So this role will contain permissions where certain custom roles which we are creating, those roles will be allotted to the user which you are designating or is it connecting. So similarly, if this user has to be part of any business to customer key administrator or he is part of billing administrator, you need to assign the respective role or a policy you can do assign. If that user needs to be administrator, assign it administrator. And if you want to add the same user to the Microsoft 365 network administrator, you can add all this. If you want to add that person to a security administrator, you can just add it and you can just select it. Now this role application developer to the respective user test user which we are creating, this role will be allotted. Then this user will be assigned with so and so particular user with this domain. Example, if you can see, this is the domain which we have created. Next, we will do select, click on create. So after a few minutes, the user role will be loaded to the page. That user permissions with Azure Active Directory, which is previously it is there. Now it is being called as an Microsoft Entra ID. So that Entra ID we just created. So let's wait for a while. You can have a look at the user level, which user has been created and what are the user details you can do have a look. Okay. So these are the details of how to create an user and how to add a role to that user. So this way we can do create an user. So if you already have any tenants or if you want to create a tenant, you can do add the particular tenant by creating this one. We can do manage our tenants as well. These are there with respect to your Microsoft Azure with business to customer. Already if you have certain tenants available, those you can do add to this tenants level. So let's go back and wait for a while till we have created that user. We will just have a quick look to check that user. So let's click on the manage and the users. So here you can see we under the manage, we are having these many level of settings with the users, groups, external identities, roles and administrators. Example, we just seen certain roles details with the developer role or security role or read and write permissions of certain administrator access and business to customer access. All these details we can do see. So let's go back to the users and just wait for a while. The user which we have created test user, it should load here. So if you can see, it is already been there. So if you can see, this is the user which we have created and the company name is ABCD. So like this, we can do create an user in as part of our Entra ID. Okay. So for this user, if you want to check any audit logs, you can do check it out. And in any sign-in logs, if you want to check when the user has been signed in, all these details you can do check. And if you are planning to delete the particular user, you can do click on the delete a user. And you can do reset that password of that user as well from here. And if you want to add any user settings to change the permissions, roles, restrict admin, non-admin users. And if you want to change any restriction access like this, you can do manage the user permissions as well. And if you want to provide a authentication with the proper activities which user can manage, those things also we can do manage. So let's go back to the default directories. And if you want to have a look more about in details about this user which we have created, or in details about the Entra ID, you can do check under the manage. You can do go to the enterprise applications, devices, this user being used, how many devices, and what type of devices that user can be logged in, compliant, non-compliant, all these details we can do check. And we can, if we want to add this user with a BitLocker key, we can do it. And we can add a local administrator password recovery as well, where for that particular user level, we can do set the password recovery for that user. This way we can do manage Entra ID. So this is the benefit of Azure Active Directory, where we can do create and we can do assign manage roles with a secured way. And we can do assign user by creating certain Azure access account organization level. We can do create Azure permissions of Entra ID. So this is about how to create an Entra ID or a user from the users level. I am going to check for that user. We can do set certain user level permissions per user MFA as well. So this MFA is the one where multi-factor authentication we can do set. So for this user, if you want to set multi-factor authentication, you need to select multi-factor per user with MFA. So you need to select that one and select this user which you have created. And for this user, you have to create certain conditional access. So this user needs to be managed with certain user with groups. You need to require MFA allow users. Particularly, you need to manage and you have to enable. So enable this one, and you can do once you do click on enable multi-factor authentication, this will be enabled with multi-factor authentication. Once the user is logged in, automatically this user will be prompted with so and so multi-factor authentication with a barcode scanner, or they will be tokenized with a login. He or she particular user will be logged in with a authentication login. So this provides entire secure data where we, if we do enable this policy with a conditional access policy, the user will be completely registered and he will be logged in with a entire successive and private login with respect to phone, SMS, or Microsoft Authenticator app, or else that a particular user can log in with hardware token as well. So these are the benefits of securing a user. So this is about how to create a test user in an organization level using Microsoft Entra ID, and how can we secure that user with a multi-factor authentication. If you want to have like this more and multiple videos also, kindly please follow us. So I am going to stop the session here today. If you like our Azure Hero to Zero series, kindly please follow us. In our previous videos, we have discussed about benefits of Azure and how to become an expert from the starting. We have created and we have seen the resources, groups, all the EC2, all the resources of instance. How do we create EC2 in AWS? Likewise, we can do create here an instance, and we have seen Unix and the Windows Server instance. For that instance, how we can do assign a identity level permission for that user to manage and to access that particular user or server. We have started with a user under an Entra ID. How we can do manage Azure Active Directory, which is previously called that, been now calling it as Entra ID. So if you like our videos, kindly please follow us and give a thumbs up. Thank you.